I would say almost heaven, York County, so. Okay. Thank you for coming today. Our next order of business is Richard Robinstein is going to read the minutes from our last meeting in February.
As Jonathan stated, the last meeting was open on February 4th in this room. I welcome all those in attendance. There were 5 new attendees at that time in the meeting, and we're here mainly here to the esteemed speakers. I read the minutes; they were approved and will be filed online as well as in hard copy folder, filing cabinet. Treasury report was given by Margaret Bird. Beginning cash balance on December 31st was 2023 was $16,321. $16,321.27. The cash balance at the end of December 31st was $16,562.88. The month of January membership stood at 149, one new member. York County History Center Director of Library and Archive Nicole Smith highlighted spotlight upcoming events for the month. She emphasized that the History Center is closed at present, but is expected to open in time for the History Center membership at the end of June, when the new begin. Public admission is expected to be at the beginning of July. Further details on upcoming programs and more updates can be viewed online through History Center. Jonathan Stair also congratulated Lynn Nelson on her accomplishments by having an article published in the very prestigious National Genealogical Society quarterly. He reminds everyone that Saturday, March 23rd, 2024 will be our genealogy seminar titled Finding Simple Genealogy. It will be held in this room from 9 to 12:30. Subject matter being discussed using online deeds in family history research. That will be Lynn Nelson. Probate records and how to find them online is Richard Kunkel. And Cool and Clever Census Hacks is Lynn Nelson. Sign up and register is on York County History Center website. Vice President Richard Kunkel gave a list of upcoming events. And as a reminder, June will be held on the second Sunday of that month. Margaret is going to read the Treasury report.
Thank you.
Okay, you get a bonus today because you get to hear the January report over again because the treasurer miscalculated. I added disbursements instead of subtracting disbursements. So, okay, as of the balance as of December 31st, 2023 was $16,321.27. Our receipts totaled $166.61. Those were all correct. We only had the one disbursement of a return check at $75. The net cash balance as of January 31st, 2024, $16,412.88. Then that was the beginning balance on February 1st. There were no receipts for February. Disbursements for February were Postal Connections, the January-February newsletter of $193.17, and speaker fee to Friends of Lebanon Cemetery, $125. Total disbursements, $318.17, leaving the correct cash balance as of February 29th, 2024, $16,094.71. Membership is 152. We had 2 members that have not renewed. They did renew last month, and they renewed for our 2-year. There are membership forms over there that you can join South Central, and it's really exciting to join South Central. Get a plug in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Nicole?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see so many people today. Just a couple announcements from the History Center before we get started. The History Center, museums, and library are currently closed as we're preparing to move. The new History Center at the steam plant will be open to the public in July. I don't have a specific date for you yet, but stay tuned for that. We will be having open house events for members of the History Center at the end of June. We will continue to hold programs here in this building until the new building is open in July. For more updates, please visit yorkhistorycenter.org. A couple programs coming up that you might be interested in. On March 7th, the Writers Roundtable will be hosting John Cromer, who will give an update on camp security archaeology. On second Saturday, March 9th, April Thomas will be speaking on tavern dining in Britain and America. On Wednesday, March 20th, the Civil War Roundtable speaker is Scott Mingus on the role of railroads at Gettysburg. That will be an online-only program. On Wednesday, March 27th, our all-vet speaker is Alexander Young, who is an Army veteran who was in Iraq. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the program.
Thank you, everybody. Before I introduce Richard, introduce the speaker, just have 2 items of news. As was mentioned in the minutes, we are co-sponsoring with the York County History Center a genealogy seminar on March 23rd, Saturday, March 23rd, from 9 to 12:30 in the morning, called Bunny Slipper Genealogy, and basically emphasis will be on those things that you can do at home in your bunny slippers on the internet. I've heard versions of all these presentations before, and I can assure you that you're in for a very interesting and valuable time if you would want to attend that program. Also, we received notice from WITF that on Saturday, April the 6th, so that'll be the Saturday before our next meeting, they are hosting a genealogy event up in Harrisburg at the Whitaker Center. It's going to be in conjunction with the program that Henry Louis Gates is on. I forget what the name of it is. Finding Your Roots, that's right. They are going to show segments of one or more of his programs related to people in central Pennsylvania, and then they're going to have a roundtable discussion. They're going to have a genealogy fair and so forth. So if you're interested, if you can't get enough genealogy today and next month, we plan to attend that as well. Any other news that anybody would like to share at this time? Okay, if not, I'm going to have our Vice President, Richard Kunkel, come tell us about upcoming programs and introduce our speaker.
Richard Kunkel, Vice President of the Society. Our program for next month, which will be Sunday, April the 7th, is entitled Research at the New Pennsylvania State Archives. And this will be presented by Aaron McWilliams, who's an archivist at the State Archives. Jonathan's been there. I don't think too many of us other people have, but it sounds like it's a really wonderful facility and lots of opportunities for researching your Pennsylvania ancestors there. It's my hope that perhaps we can have a tour of the facility sometime during our next year. The May meeting will be off-site. It will be at the Basilica of the Sacred Heart, better known as Tonawaba Chapel. in Irish Town, near McSherrystown in Adams County, Pennsylvania. The time will be a little different. It will be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Conowalga Chapel with the priest who is the main priest there, giving the presentation. It's basically a tour of the chapel, which dates from the 1780s. It was the early mission of the Jesuits. And the main building from the 1780s, the decoration inside is from the 19th century. If you've never been to Germany, Austria, or Italy and visited Catholic churches in those countries, Conowalga Chapel is about as close as you can get. It's actually even a minor basilica of the Roman Catholic Church. It's designated a basilica. They have a papal umbrella in the basilica. They found the old altar in a barn that's been restored. It always had frescoes on the ceiling and beautiful stained glass windows. They found there were frescoes on the walls as well that had been painted over at some point in time where that sort of decoration maybe was not considered as popular. So they have been restored. So I'm kind of anxious to see what it all looks like. And then our last meeting, which is in June, which will be the second Sunday of June rather than the first Sunday of June, is the Henry James Young Award, where we will be honoring two different individuals. So our presentation today is entitled How to Find a Needle in a Haystack When You're Not Even Looking. And our presenter for this is Lisa Woolfson, who is a genealogist who's been researching her families and the families of others for 13 years. She has written and presented her family history for the Granite Historical Society in Baltimore County, Maryland, the Historical Society of Baltimore County, and the Maryland Center for History and Culture, as well as the Frederick County Genealogical Society, Heritage Frederick, the Bucks County Genealogical Society, and the Bucks County Historical Society, and the Spring Grove Area Historical and Preservation Society. This same program will be presented to the Carroll County Genealogical Society on Monday evening, May the 20th, at the Finksburg Public Library in Finksburg, Maryland. Linda is a member of our own South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society, Lisa, sorry, and the Mid-Atlantic Germanic Society, the Daughters of the Union Veterans of the Civil War 1055 in Gettysburg, the Daughters of the Society of the War of 1812, Robert Fulton Steamboat Chapter, the Baltimore County Genealogical Society, the Bucks County Genealogical Society, the Welcome Society of Pennsylvania, which I think we'll hear more about here today, and the Spring Grove Area Historical Preservation Society. Before Lisa was a genealogist, she was a school teacher. She has a bachelor's degree from Towson University and a master's degree from McDaniel College, formerly Western Maryland College. She taught for private schools, the Baltimore County Public Schools, Parkville Middle, and Carroll Community College in Westminster, Maryland. If you'll please help me in welcoming Lisa as our speaker today.
Hello there. Thank you for taking your time to come out to hear this story. It's quite a project in the making. I presented this last week at the Baltimore County Genealogical Society's meeting, and a lot of people came thinking that they were going to learn the steps by steps to prove your lineage in a society. And basically, this is telling my story of what I discovered. But over on the table is a handout called Proving the Lineage. And if you want to join any of these societies, it's kind of a roadmap of what I did to prove that I did in fact descend from William Buckman, the immigrant. Usually, some of you know, the first 3 generations back, they always want birth, marriage, and death. Okay, they want those certificates. But then you have to get creative because sometimes those records are not available further back you get, which you use will, deeds, church records, you know, various records that are out there. So I do have a sign-up sheet out there if you want to sign up, and if you don't get to ask your question today, I'll address it during the week. You know, you can give me a call. There's cards over there. If you want to pick up and give me a call, that'd be great too. So Jeff is my husband. He's tech support. I'd like to welcome the president, still, DUV, Daughters of Union Veterans, the Civil War 1055 in Gettysburg. And my cousin and his wife, Robin Sharon Dorn, that are here. And one of my, where is she? Amy Guys, there she is. So she met with me at Spring Grove and I got her up and running with her genealogical work, and I can still see, we built a tree on my page originally, but I can still see when she's adding stuff, and she's working full time, and I'm thinking, how is she doing all that working full time? So, this, presentation is called Finding a Needle in a Haystack and You're Not Even Looking, and oftentimes that's when genealogists get their best discoveries, is like they stumble across them. So this narrative is really meaty, so I'm just going to read through. I'm sitting because it's because I had 2 ankle surgeries, so I just really can't be on my feet. I hope you forgive me for that. But we're going to read through, and then at the end, actually take questions. If you have questions, or those of you watching by Zoom who have questions, we'll handle those at that time. I'd like where I can see it.
Just thank you. Yeah.
Treasures, that's what I call them. There's little pieces of information that we dig and dig for that show up unexpectedly, or what keeps genealogists going back for more. You never know what you're going to find in the most unlikely places. Take, for instance, the story that is about to unfold. One bright summer day, I was sitting at the kitchen table of a historian, Beverly Griffith, in a small town of Granite in Baltimore County, Maryland. This is where my dad's people were from. I had always been told that since I was a little girl. I glanced over the strewn pages of incidental records. Wait, something caught my eye. Next to the name David Slack, my 3rd great-grandfather, was a note scribbled that said he served in the War of 1812. And next to his wife's name, Sarah Buckman, my 3rd great-grandmother, were the words, "Ancestors came over with pen." These were my 3rd great-grandparents. I couldn't contain myself. I immediately wanted to know more. First, I focused on proving my lineage to David Slack, my 3rd great-grandfather. He served in the 32nd Regiment Maryland Militia, and he fought in the Battle of Bladensburg in the War of 1812. I joined the Daughters of the Society of the War of 1812, Marion Pickersgill chapter in Baltimore, Maryland. I since transferred my membership to the Robert Fulton Steamboat chapter here in Pennsylvania, but have not become active with that chapter yet. It's busy. Okay, so David Slack is my 3rd great-grandfather. I proved who he was and that he fought in Bladensburg, in the Battle of Bladensburg. But I wanted to know a little bit more about his family's history. Okay, so David Slack's dad, Cornelius Slack, along with his uncles and cousins, were with George Washington when he crossed the Delaware on December 25th to the 26th, 1776, during the American Revolutionary War. There was about 2,400 people when they crossed. It was the first move in a surprise attack organized by George Washington, the commanding general of the Continental Army, against the Hessian forces, which were German auxiliaries aiding the British. After crossing the Delaware River clandestinely, Washington and his troops successfully attacked the Hessian forces in the Battle of Trenton in Trenton, New Jersey, and on the morning of December 26, 1776. Hey, that's the historic Slack House. I was actually in Washington Crossing and didn't know about this house at the time. So hopefully I can get back there and go into there. But it is on the National Registry of Historic Places. Just as David Slack's father fought in the American Revolutionary War, so did Sarah Buckman's dad. William Briggs Buckman fought in the Revolutionary War. He was a corporal in the 3rd Massachusetts Regiment and saw action at the Battle of Bunker Hill, the Battle of 12 Rivieres, the Battle of Saratoga, and the Battle of Valcourt Island. Shortly after the discovery about my third great grandparents in Granite, Baltimore County, Maryland, I attended the monthly meeting of the Baltimore County Genealogical Society. I came across a well-worn paperback book entitled Passengers and Ships Prior to 1684, Penn's Colony, Volume 1 by Walter Lee Shepard. Without a second, I swooped the book off the table and hurriedly scoured the index. Eureka, there were so many Buckmans listed in the index: Widow Buckman, Edward Buckman, Joan, Mary, Ruth, Sarah. They actually had the largest family group in the index. Thomas and William Buckman. Oh, William, I found my guy. Now I needed to know more about him, his family, and his journey to the New World. For this awesome discovery of a tossed aside book, I paid $5. So I just was perusing the table and there it was. Now I'll pass this around. This is my new copy of the book, but I would caution you because the one I picked up off the table, I don't know why, but I pitched it. And it had the best map in it. It had, you know, it was really a great map, and this one doesn't. So we want to just pass that around. If you want to, like, if you have any inkling that you might be related or descended from somebody that would allow you to get into the Welcome Society, the index is in the back. And you can look there and talk to me afterwards. Am I being loud enough? William Penn sailed from England late in the summer. I'm waiting for my tech support. Okay. William Penn sailed from England late in the summer of 1682. Edward and Thomas Buckman had bought 500 acres of land from William Penn, but it seemed that one of them died, and William Buckman took his place on the ship. The Welcome sailed at the end of August and arrived in the Delaware River October 27, 1682. Okay, there's some stories about the date that I'll get to. The Quaker calendar year starts on the 1st of March and ends on the 28th of February. So it can be said that they arrived the 27th day of the 8th month in 1682. And on page 7 of the book that's being passed around, it lists William Buckman, wife Mary, children Sarah and Mary, and they're amongst the registry of arrivals in Bucks County. William Buck, and then all throughout, there's like, and the thing with this book, a lot of it's written in really small print, so it's like tons of information. It looks just like a normal paperback book, but there's a lot of information in there. I want to talk a little bit about the journey. Should be on slide 11. 10. Oh, okay. In August 1682, the ship Welcome's trip from Beale, England to Pennsylvania met a hazardous and at best unpleasant voyage of 58 days on this very small wooden ship. The Welcome that carried William Penn to his new colony was an average size for that time. She was likely around 120 feet in length, 24 feet wide, and weighed about 300 tons. Robert Greenway was her commander, and she was manned by a crew of about 36. She carried 100 passengers, mostly Friends or Quakers from Sussex, England. When they left London, they could have no idea how long they would be on board the ship, as these ships were slow sailors. Although they could go as fast as 10 miles per hour, when there was a fair wind and a smooth sea, they rarely maintained that speed. The length of the voyage might vary from 49 to 128 days. Sometimes ships that left London at the same time might arrive in America as much as 8 or 9 weeks apart. The conditions on the Welcome were likely far from ideal even for those times. The ship was overcrowded with passengers, and private cabins were available only to the ship's captain, William Penn, and the Buckman family. All the others slept on the floor on the deck below the main deck. There was very little light or air. During the rains and rough seas, water would pour in through the cracks and joints, drenching the passengers and their belongings below. There were no bathrooms on board. If they wanted to wash, they had to wash in the salty water from the sea. Most likely, they may have worn the same clothing for the whole trip. And so that's, and can imagine. Food for the belly. Although from time to time, fresh fish or turtles might be caught if weather permitted, meals usually consisted of salt horse and salted beef, pork, or fish, and hardtack, hard dry biscuits. There were dried peas and beans, cheese and butter. Weather permitting, food was cooked over charcoal fires and metal boxes called braziers. But it was often too dangerous to have a fire, and so the food was eaten cold. Food became infested with bugs, the biscuits got too hard to eat, the cheese got moldy, the butter turned rancid, and even the beer began to go sour by the end of the voyage. Even though a large amount of water would have been taken on board, after standing in barrels for a while, it was neither pleasant nor safe to drink. Everyone, even the children, drank beer instead. Storms were a great danger, and the Atlantic had many, especially in the fall and winter when the Welcome sailed. The tossing and rolling of the small ship, and even a minor storm, caused most of the passengers, many of whom had never been on a ship before, to become seasick. There was the ever-present fear that a major storm could easily capsize a ship of this size or cause it to break apart. Sickness, next slide. Sickness other than seasickness was a major problem. Even a minor illness could quickly spread among the passengers and the crew alike. Serious illnesses often caused ship's fever or smallpox, killed 33 on the Welcome's crossing. The captain was forced to put the ship into Little Egg Harbor in New Jersey in order to allow for the fever to run its course. So even though they got here October 27th, they didn't really come into the harbor and, into the land until the 28th. They were still pretty fortunate, as on some voyages, as many as half of the passengers died before they reached their final destination. The prospect of this long, dangerous, and unpleasant voyage was not made more tolerable by the conditions that the passengers faced upon arrival in the new colony. They were arriving in the early winter, and they would spend that first winter in caves in Bosington. They would not be able to build their permanent homes until the next spring. Still, they chose to face those hardships and exhibited the faith and spirit that embodied the birth of their new home, Pennsylvania. So Penn had 23 ships, and actually it was the 19th ship that he came on, and that William Buckman was his good friend, and came in with him, and but it was like he didn't. I used it for a while, so he was on the first ship. No, he didn't come over till the 19th ship. Penn's so Penn's fleet bought 99 hundredweights of iron, 78 hundredweights of nails, 6 chests of glass, 744 pounds of shoes, 66 dozen of men's hose, 30 dozen of children's hose, 20 gross of pipes, 10 carat weights of soap, or 100 weights of soap, 3,200 weights of shot, 2.75 hundredweights of gunpowder, and 400 weights of cheese. There's a chart over there that has the names of all the ships listed and what each ship brought. So some of them brought more glass, some brought more bricks, some brought more cheese. So you can see and compare that. One thing I did want to say about the Welcome Society, when you're proving your lineage to that, most societies give you a ribbon, and then you can add a star for every person you prove, right? They have lots of stars on the ribbon. So, but the Welcome Society didn't do that. You prove one and you're in, and they don't care if you're related to anyone. So that's difference there. So we have what the fleet bought, but the Penn I just don't know how they got all this on the ship. So the Buckmans brought, they had a private cabin along with Ben. Other passengers were in steerage. They brought 2,000 pounds of luggage. So how they got this all off the ship and into the cave at Fawsington, including linen tablecloths and napkins, pewter dishes, cherry wood furniture, including several beds, William Buckman's carpenter tools and building supplies, and non-perishable food for the crossing. One thing I didn't say was that when Mama got sick and died on the voyage, the baby was thrown overboard. So there was nobody to nurse the baby. Okay, so if there were children, you know, I don't know how late they nursed, but young babies, if Mama died, babies were. Okay, so we got more stuff here. They brought enough clothing to last a lifetime, hats and capes for women, suits, shoes, hundreds of pounds of linen wearing apparel, curtains, pillows, brass cookware, packed in chests, baskets, tubs, sacks, and coolers. William Penn's, Pennsylvania. In 1681, William Penn was granted land in America for the province of Pennsylvania as a payment of the debt of 16,000 pounds that King Charles II owed to his father, Admiral Sir William Penn. Today's money would be $4.5 billion. Yeah, and then he offered the colonists the sale of 5,000 acres for 100 pounds for $28,000, or to rent them the land for a penny an acre, $2.83. Up to 200 acres. A bond servant was to receive 50 acres when his time had expired. So if he couldn't pay for his passage, he agreed to work for someone for whatever time, 5 years, 7 years, something like that. And then he would get his land when he had worked off his passage. The Rowland family, who I also descend from, was on the welcome as well. John Rowland of Fillinghurst in the county of Sussex, husbandman, came into the ship to welcome with Master Robert Greenway. He arrived in this river the 8th month of October, 1682, with his wife Priscilla and his servant Hannah Mowbridge. She was to have 50 shillings per annum and was to be loosed in the 3rd month, which was May, March, April, May, 1684. James Dilworth is my 7th great grandfather, and Anne Wong, W-A-L-N, my 7th great grandfather. They arrived on the ship the Lamb, also in 1682. The master of that ship was John Tench. So again, I didn't get to prove the Rowlands, the Dilworths, or the Wongs. One thing, when I've gone to the Welcome Society meetings, we'll usually wear name badges and tell which people we descend from. So we can meet cousins and do things like that. Okay, next slide. How many have seen this picture before? A lot of people have seen that. That's the thing, that one of the famous pictures of his arrival. And it does depict, you know, if you think about it, if people would think, oh, he came first, well, if he came first, then how did all that stuff get built in the background? You know, so he's coming over later. This has the 19th ship. The Quaker religion is noted for keeping good records. There is a notebook on the back table that has copies of many of the documents that I used, including Quaker meeting records. Some of those were from Wrightstown monthly meeting, Middletown monthly meeting, Horsham Montgomery meeting, Falls monthly meeting, and Philadelphia yearly meeting. So I at one time had mapped out a little field trip to go to those meeting houses and, you know, set up a time for the people to have them open so I could see them, etc. But then COVID hit and I never got back to it again. There's binders over here that I put them on a separate table because when I had them on the table with my other things, it didn't look like people were going through them when I presented before. So I set them aside so you would look at them. I'm going to share this one story about the Quaker religion, and it doesn't even have to do with this family. Ron, this is our great-great-grandmother, and on the Wagner family, Nelson side. And I could never understand how she was my brick wall, and I could never understand how she showed up in this household, where she was before that. I came across Quaker meeting record that said she was excommunicated from the Quaker church for attending a wedding outside the faith. Not that she married outside of the faith, but she just went to a wedding that was outside of the faith. And so I have to look for records that prove that. So she, and in the records it said, if she would repent of her ways, we would, gladly accept her back into the society of friends. Well, she both did one with another family. So that was it's kind of like a new discovery, a golden nugget for this year for me. Okay, so the Life of William Penn Illustrated is a collection of the founder of Pennsylvania and pictures from Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission in Harrisburg. Some of the things that are depicted in there are the Penn coat of arms, William Penn's father, education of William Penn, Admiral Penn's ship, William Penn the armor, founder of the Quakers, which is George Fox, most of you know, imprisonment, Gulielma, that's his name, that's the name of Penn's first wife. She went by Guli, G-U-L-I, Gulielma. Charles II, Charter of Pennsylvania, a bonded friendship, the wampum belt, which, by the way, we'll talk a little bit about those, but this, I'll pass this around. I wanted to get like a wampum belt or make, I'm not real crafty, but I thought about making them. But this is actually made of quahog shells, Quahog shells. And it's what the Lenape Indians in Penn used to sign the treaties. And for a while there, this was also used as currency. So from, I think it was 1637 to 1673, this had been used, for this particular shell type had been used as currency. Yes, right.
I have a question about that.
Yep,
Waffle Belt, I believe, is the picture on the back of that Native American series of dollar coins.
the Native American series of what?
Dollar coins, gold dollars, second.
Oh, yeah,
place.
yeah.
We got a Waffle Belt back in one of those.
Yeah,
It's really one of the things.
yeah, so we're gonna talk a little bit about that too, the significance of it. There's a, booklet back here, back there, please take a copy, I have, a whole box of them at home for future presentations, if you know somebody who would want one, it's called Your Friend William Penn. The little booklet is full of information about Penn and Pennsylvania, Penn sees Pennsylvania, Penn and the Indians, Penn writes to the Indian kings, an Indian land deed, Penn and the Indians in council, the Indians' gift to the widow, Penn and education, Penn's peacemaker, the wampum belts, the good trencherman, Penn family letters, and Penn on government and his prayer for Philadelphia. In a letter from Philadelphia in 1683 to the Free Society of Traders back in England, Penn wrote of the living creatures, fish, fowl, and beast of the woods. Here are diverse sorts, some for food and some for profit, and some for profit only. For food, as well as profit, the elk as big as a small ox, deer bigger than ours, beaver, raccoon, rabbits, squirrels, and some eat young bear and commend it. Of the fowl of the land, there is the turkey, 40 to 50 pounds weight, which is very great. Pheasants, heath birds, pigeons, and partridges in abundance. Of the water, the swan, the goose, white and gray, rams, ducks, teal, also the snipe, and the furlough. And that is in great numbers, but the duck and teal excel. Nor so good have I eaten in other countries. Of fish, there's the sturgeon, the herring, rock, shag, cat's head, sheep's head, eel, smelt, perch, roach. Roach fish. Ron, what's a roach fish? And in the inland rivers, trout, some say Some say there's salmon above the falls. Of shellfish, we have oysters, crabs, cockles as big as stewing oysters, which make a rich broth. The creatures for profit only by skin or fur, and that are natural to these parts, are the wildcat, panther, otter, wolf, fox, fisher, minks, muskrat. And of the water, we have the whale for oil, which we have good store, and 2 companies of whalers whose boats were built will soon begin on their work, which have the appearance of considerable improvement. So that's from, there's a copy of that. Back on the back table, it's located in the Caleb Pusey House in Landingford Plantation. And I met somebody that descended from Caleb Pusey. Where is he? There he is. Okay, what's your name?
Tom Gibson.
Tom Gibson, okay. So the people that Penn is most noted for trading with is the Lenape Indians, and it's okay, so Lenape, this description of the Lenape Indians is from a letter from William Penn to the Committee of the Free Society of Traders, printed in London, 1683. And it's at the Library of American Philosophical Society in Philadelphia. He said, for their persons, they are generally tall, straight, well-built, and of singular complexion, black as the gypsies in England. They grease themselves with bear's fat, clarified, and using no defense against sun or weather, their skin must needs be swarthy. Truly, an Italian complexion hath not much more of the white, and the noses of several of them as much as the Roman. The language is lofty, yet narrow in signification, full like shorthand in writing. One word serveth in the place of 3, and the rest are supplied by understanding of the hearer. Their houses are mats or barks of trees set with poles in the fashion of an English barn, but out of grass. Travel they lodge in the woods about a great fire, with a mantle of duffels they wear by day wrapped around them, and a few boughs stuck about them. These poor people are under a dark night in things relating to religion, to be sure, yet they believe in a God and immortality without the help of metaphysics. For they say there is a great king that made them, who dwells in a glorious country to the southward of them, and that the souls of the good shall go thither, where they shall live again. Their worship is of 2 parts, sacrifice and canticle. Their canticle performed by round dances, sometimes words, sometimes songs, the shouts too being in the middle that begin, and by singing and drumming on a board direct the chorus. Their postures in the dance are very antic and differing, but all keep measure. This is done with equal earnestness and labor, but a great appearance of joy. Okay, so this would make a great craft project. Okay, for your kids, the wampum bells. You were thinking the same thing? Yeah, I should have got in touch with you and had them make them for me, so that would be really good. So anyway, and the Indian Steps Museum wasn't open, so I couldn't check that out either for a resource. The way of the Indians with the wampum belts was this: at a treaty with a blanket would be stretched on the ground, and upon the blanket placed various wampum belts. Each wampum belt represented one historical agreement the tribe had made, and it was the responsibility of the Indian who had the keeping of the belt to memorize its particular and specific meaning. Thus, he kept in memory one clause or one treaty, reciting it when requested. A white man would either want to memorize all of the agreements or have them all down in writing, but the Indians had a man specified to remember each agreement. And yes, this is a famous Penn Street with the Indians at Shakamoxon by Benjamin West. It was completed in 1771, 1772. It depicts Penn entering into the Treaty of Shakamoxon in 1683 with Tamanan, the chief of the Lenape or Delaware Indians. And I have, let me read what this says here. I didn't read this last time. This is by Penn. There can be no friendship without freedom. Friendship loves a free air. It speaks freely and acts so too. It takes no ill when no ill was meant, and even when ill was meant, friendship willingly forgives and forgets on the slightest admission. True friends reveal their thoughts freely, advise justly, help willingly, take risks boldly, endure patiently, defend courageously, and continue unchangeably. And that was by William Penn. On the back, Chief Tamanan writes, "We and William Penn's people of this river have always had a free roadway to one another. And though sometimes a tree has fallen across that road, yet we have removed it again and kept the path clear. We will live in friendship as long as the creeks and rivers run, and while the stars and moon endure, one head, one mouth, and one heart." I'm gonna pass this around too. This is, one thing I did want to say, did you guys see in the news where they wanted to pull down one of the statues about a month ago of William Penn? Anybody see that? It was not the one in Treaty Park, which I'm going to show you here. It was the one that actually stood right where his home was. Okay, so his home was like adjacent to the park, but it was not, they didn't get to pull it down, thank God. But it was not the one that I'm going to show you in the park. We did go in, I have been in a museum there, which is across from the Penn Treaty Park. Here you go. And I have plenty of these back there too, if you're interested. So there's more pictures in the notebook back there of Penn Treaty Park. For years, there was a tree that they just knew that this is where the treaties took place, but that tree is not there anymore. There's simply a plaque there to commemorate William Penn and his treaties with the Lenape Indians. It's maintained by the city of Philadelphia, and it does commemorate his peaceful dealings with the Indians. There's the statue, and at the base of the statue, there was something written on all four sides. I went around and took a picture of it. That's Penn Treaty Park today. It's a small park on the western bank of the Delaware River in the Fishtown neighborhood of Philadelphia. It's located on Beach Street near its intersection with Delaware Avenue. This land was part of the Lenape-Shakamatsun, where William Penn famously entered into the Treaty of Peace with Tamanan, a chief of the Lenape Turtle Clan in 1683. Here's some pictures of the park today. That crowded when we went, wasn't it, Jeff? Jeff making some Pittsburgh time. Pennsbury Manor was Penn's summer home, and the original one burnt. I don't know the year, but this is a replica. This is a replica of it. So we started out at the kitchen table in Granite, Maryland, Baltimore County. We went to the book table at Baltimore County Genealogical Society. We went to Penn's arrival in PA and the description of the journey and what he saw when he got here. And now we're back at the final resting places of my ancestors. So for you guys, you're kind of far removed from where this is, but when I spoke last week and when I speak in Carroll County, these people drive past these cemeteries every day, and nobody knows the history that lies, beneath those cemeteries. So David Slack is my third great grandfather. He's buried at St. James. Well, let me say this first. He and Sarah were married in 1803 in Newtown, which Jeff just looked up for me. It's about 140 miles from there to Granite, Maryland. So it's 1803. There's no railroad yet, so they're going by horse and cart, buggy, horse and wagon, whatever. And, so 140 miles to their new location in Carroll County / Howard County, Maryland area. So he's buried at, St. James United Methodist Church. This intersection is also known as Slack's Corner. So, it's at West Friendship, Howard County, and the Carroll County, Maryland border. And then she, after he passed, she was living with her children, and she's at the Wesley Freedom Wesley Chapel Methodist Episcopal Church. It's the older church. It's on 26 Liberty Road, kind of across from where the old Carroll Town Mall used to be. The newer church is further up, and it's just called Wesley United Methodist Church. But a lot of the Methodist church of that day were Methodist Episcopal Church. They had merged their denominations for a time period. When I went to find this stone, I had talked to someone on the cemetery committee, and he tied a ribbon around it so I would find it in the cemetery and not be tracing everywhere. Okay, here we are. So this is my welcome to the Walking Society of Pennsylvania certificate for use at Lisa Day Woolfson. To inform you that at a meeting of the council, the Welcome Society of PA held May 17, 2018, you're duly elected as a member of the society. I'm ready to take questions if you guys have some. Anybody have questions? Yes, in the back.
This chart that you have of the ship, that's from the book.
Yes, it's from the pink book.
And where did this, I didn't see in the book, I didn't have time. Where did they get this information from, you know?
I don't, I'm sure it's noted in there though. It's probably cited. Did you see the chart in the book?
I saw the chart in the book and I thought probably got it from there, but do we have that book here at our library?
Yes.
Thank you.
So Nicole quickly fetched me maps of 1682 and 1680, well, just, yeah, it starts in 1682 to 1982. So because the original layout had where everybody's property was, I knew right where the Buckmans were. There's an album over there. We went into King George Inn, which is now the oldest pub in the country. And we went in there and there was a drawing of someone that had taken a photo or a drawing of like Penn and his people sitting around a table at the pub. And the same pole they were sitting near, I took a picture of me by that pole. So that's over there, but it's just, you know, I would encourage you, never think that you're not gonna find information about something somewhere. Anybody else?
Yeah, what was the source of your information on the description of the voyage?
It's a copy of it over there. It's at the Caleb Pusey House. It's called The Voyage of the Welcome. And that's in Landingburg Plantation, but there's copies.
And is that written by one of the passengers or?
You know what? I really don't know.
Well, that house that's in Chester, PA, right?
Tom, where's the Caleb Pusey House? Do you know?
I do. Taxing like rain right now.
I thought it's right in Chester,
Yeah.
Delaware County.
I'm a Maryland transplant, so I don't know my Pennsylvania geography.
Isn't that in Slanger or something?
Yeah, Landingburg says.
Yeah.
Landingburg Plantation.
Right.
So if you know anybody that would want to see this, just let them know. My cards are over there. You can grab one. Anybody else in the back?
But, so what do you think prompted the Buckmans to want to leave their home and their livelihood in England, Sussex?
Yeah. It was a lot of things, religion, you know, they wanted them to adhere to the Church of England. And, of course, with being Quakers, I think I must have, the whole thing is when Penn planned the, trip, and I must have glossed over that, but he actually, laid out the town so that the Buckmans and the people that came would, like their kids would all be in the same area, you know, so he wanted to make sure Juliana and she had like families that she was familiar with. They were in the same place, so it would be the most, you know, welcoming for everybody, like they were just picking up the community and moving it. Before this, actually, many of you know the Swedes were here first before that. And actually, Penn did go to Germany, got a lot of people for the ships too, so. Sharon?
Thank you. This was a great presentation and I'm so interested in and so excited about having you come into our farm. Which was originally a William Penn land grant, 1751. The house was built in 1791.
Awesome.
So we'd love you to come and anybody else is interested in visiting us, we'd love to have you.
Where, she's in Felton, where is that?
Southern York County,
Southern North.
outside of Stewartstown.
Okay. I have two cemeteries that I researched for my grandsons. I wrote a curriculum called America Beautiful Through the Eyes of Our Ancestors. And I did their Civil War stuff with elders. Two of them are in Stewartstown, so.
Our church has a lot of history too, Round Hill Presbyterian. There's very, very old graves to be interested in visiting them, especially when you're going to see us.
We'd love, maybe I can bring out one. Anybody else?
What are the qualifications to become a member of the Welcome Society?
You have to prove your lineage. You have to link the generations. So first what you do, and it's over there in the notebook, you have to have a proposal, you know, that you want to prove this lineage and say who you are linking yourself to, which immigrant.
So which immigrants qualify you to be a member of that society? That's
Well-
not my question. Is it just the people on the Welcome or is it?
No, it's,
Okay.
well, okay, so it started at just 1682 ships that came in, anybody that descended from those passengers. And in the book, there are passenger lists for other ships. And I don't know, Nicole, do you have other resources here that they could? Yeah, but now they've added 1683. So if you descend from anybody that came in 1683, then, you know, you can prove that too. I think, okay, since I was so far out of the area, I wasn't living in the area, nobody knew me. I had to have, you know, letters of recommendation from people that knew me or whatever like that, that accompanied my application. But you essentially do a proposal and then they tell you, yes, you can go ahead with your, you know, proving your lineage. Sometimes people, they just want like 2 or 3 documents, but in this project, it was the first lineage society that I did, so I didn't know what to do, so I did everything. You notice proving from Sarah Buckman, my 3rd great grandmother, all the way back, the next 4 generations were all William Buckmans. One was William Briggs Buckman, one was William Pencreek Buckman, and the other 2 didn't have middle names. So I had a mess to sort out, proving all of those William Buckmans, 4 of them back. And, but you don't always need as many documents as what I put there. Like I said, it was my first time at joining a lineage society. And I tended to give more than less. Anybody else? Please help yourself to the brochures. This is going to be on YouTube. Is that okay? YouTube. On the cover slide, I had a copy, or the cover slide. On the first slide, I had a copy of my email. Please feel free to contact me or sign up on the sheet back there, and I'll get in touch with you and hope to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Feel free to talk to Lisa in person if you'd like to before you go.